If you feel numb, if you're never in the mood, if you love your partner but don't feel turned on, if you're constantly in your head managing everything, it's not that your libido disappeared. It's not that your body's broken. It's that you left. You left your body because it was safer to function than to feel. And today, we're talking about how to come back because pleasure doesn't begin with technique, it begins with presence. Welcome to the Sensual Sisterhood Podcast, where pleasure is not a luxury, it's the way back to yourself.
In this episode, we're breaking down why so many midlife women unconsciously abandon their bodies, what presence actually is and what it's not, why coming back can feel really fucking scary or overwhelming, how to practice presence immediately so you can feel more alive and more turned on. And if this conversation resonates with you, make sure you subscribe because every week on the Sensual Sisterhood Podcast, we unpack the things women were never taught about their bodies, their pleasure, and their power.
So let's kick things off, Barbara, by talking about what I think of as like the epidemic of absence, right? Of women leaving their bodies, and specifically why. Like, what does that mean and why? Because I know for me leaving my body and eventually noticing kind of the numbness, the like this like frustration, that didn't come to a head until I turned 50. For some women, this is exactly the time, midlife. It can happen earlier, but like it's so pervasive. It's so normal that a lot of us don't even realize that that's what's going on.
The lack of us having to be present in our bodies, like that making it obsolete, is not an accident. It is design
Mhm.
of the bigger issue of our lives. Because even when you think about, think about a baby. Anybody who has a baby, who's been around babies, what is a baby if not present? They are a present moment they are our biggest teachers. You want to understand presence, hang with kids, hang with babies, because they're not thinking about what happened yesterday or what's going to happen tomorrow, because that's either the past or the future. They're not thinking about the things they have to do. They're like, I'm hungry. They start crying. They are present to what's happening in their body. And they are like, so powerful. Why are babies so, get your attention right away? It's because you might not realize it. They're so present. They're teaching you. And the reason why it's become such an epidemic is because we're taught to focus out.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
second, like the second it starts, it's like focus out, focus on everyone else. I studied early childhood development, and it's in stages of like, oh my God, I can't cry because it's going to make daddy uncomfortable. So that's a way that you shut down the presence. Or, oh my God, I need to do this. I need to do that. You're constantly taken out of the moment
Yeah.
because somebody needs
And
something
it
from
just gets worse and worse and worse with time. And I think women are so conditioned to be caregivers, right? To be over responsible, to be good. And we're going to get into that in a second. There's so much that we learn both from our individual relationships, our family, our core unit, and from the larger culture. Almost all women do this and don't even realize they're doing it until they eventually stumble upon this podcast or this work or someone who's working on living not just from the neck up. But I want to talk for a minute about the larger systemic thing here, because it's not just what you learn in childhood. It's not just what's modeled to you by your parents. We as women have been taught not only to hate our bodies, we've been taught that our bodies are the enemy. And that starts really, really, really early, right? It's a lot of religious teaching, right? The body is a source of shame. It's the thing that would ruin us if we trusted it too much. We're supposed to apologize for it. We're supposed to contort it somehow, disconnect from it, monitor it, right? It's something wrong or broken or shameful. And particularly for women, right? We get the messages early on. We should smile more. We should be this. We should be that. So it's so constant
it's
from the
constant
minute.
and it's contradictory, right?
Yes.
Because so one of the things I teach a lot is we have been taught to have our bodies constantly be obedient to our head.
Yeah.
And this is the switch is, what if your head was obedient to your body? Because what's contradictory is your body has a sensation, it has a feeling, and then all of a sudden your head chimes in and is like, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. But it's like, how could that be wrong if that's really what's happening in your body? But because you want love and approval from any authority that's around you, you're like, fuck, I got to do what's socially acceptable, socially normal, socially whatever, because you're so afraid to be
Yeah.
for any little thing. If you didn't cover your body the right way, if you didn't smile when you were supposed to, if you didn't show up in the way you think they need you to,
Yeah.
like there's so much fear of being wrong. And it's like, how could that be wrong if this is what's true? It's
Yeah.
true. Like presence is truth, right? This is what's happening in my body. And we've been taught to suppress that.
Yeah. And I'm going to keep beating the drum of this was a strategic, systemic thing that was installed along with patriarchy, right? We were sort of taught the disembodiment to just focus on this. This is how we get to God, that this is spiritual evolution, that the body must be controlled because it's sinful and it's shameful and all this stuff, right? So it's this like strategic erasure of actually what's the most powerful vessel in the planet, which is the female body. It literally creates life, right? Which is terrifying for those who don't have that power. So I'm going to keep talking about this because we can't really change this for our daughters and granddaughters and future generations until we become aware of it, right? Until we stop saying, that's crazy. That's just some conspiracy. That's feminists off the rails. No, no, no. This is actually the truth. And the sooner you realize it, the sooner you can start giving yourself permission to not judge your body the way you're judging it, because the beauty standards were handed down by, as we are now discovering, mostly pedophiles. So no wonder we prioritize you. What they define as presence is not how we're going to define it here, right? Because presence has been defined as staying calm, some sort of serenity, some sort of being positive, like performative mindfulness. And that's not what we're talking about, right?
No, we're not talking about that. Presence is, it's, I mean, again, the best example before we get into how we define it is I always say, look at babies,
Yeah.
look at kids under the age of 2, from 0 to 2. You don't, and it's the thing is about presence, it's an experience. So there's nothing Marta and I can say that could really articulate it when you get back to that place. But here's the trick. You were born present. You have it in you to get back there. And here's the value. This is a whole fucking paradox with the presence, because presence is the key ingredient to having a multi-orgasmic sex life. It doesn't seem like that. It doesn't sound like that. Nobody would ever be like, what do you need to have the hottest sex life? But I have, through lots of research, through my own research, through clients, I see it. It is the key ingredient. Why do people love orgasm so much? You know why? Because at the point of orgasm, you are the most present. You are forced to, if you think about it, even if your orgasm is like 2 seconds long, why do people desire orgasm so much? Why do they want it so much? Why do they chase it so much? It is because this stops.
Yeah.
It's, there's no thoughts. And all of a sudden the sensations are so fucking high that you are forced to be in your body and you're present to that experience. And it's fucking unbelievable. It is magic. When you have that experience, you experience power, right? You experience, whoa, I wasn't thinking, I wasn't doing, look at what my body did without me doing anything. Pay attention next time to your orgasm, because that is why we practice presence. If you're in your head, you're not going to allow yourself to get to orgasm. That is the biggest issue. That's why we're doing this episode. If you are always in your head, if you're constantly fucking like, I have to do this, I have to do that, you think there's something wrong with your libido. Yeah. You know what? You're killing it, because the libido is presence.
Yeah.
This,
It's true. I almost thought about naming this episode this is clickbaity, but I'm going to say it. The number one sex tip no one ever told you about. Because if you Google sex tips or you're on YouTube looking for ways to become a better lover or have better orgasms or right, some of the topics that lead people to this podcast, there's so much out there about different techniques. And there's so little about it starts with being in your body. It starts with presence, with staying with sensation, with feeling what you feel, with hearing the internal truth and responding to it with moving energy, right? It's being in contact with your body in real time, like you were saying, like infants and toddlers do, little kids do naturally. And we have been conditioned out of, again, especially women, because the system knows that a woman who lives in her body, who's not trapped by external validation or listening to all the propaganda, you can't control her. She's not afraid of you. She's not going to cower to you. She's not going to be the little good girl who's quiet in the corner. And that's a whole different
It's a
path, right?
powerful thing. As an adult, you start to learn the experience of presence, being in your body and present. What does presence do? It creates safety.
Yes.
And women, in order for them to have the most expansive and delicious and juicy sex lives, they need to feel safe in their body. If you don't feel safe in your body, you're not going to want to have sex. You're not going to be turned on. When you feel safe in your body, then you open for more expansion. The orgasm can go in different ways. You can have different types of orgasm, but that means the mind is obedient to the body, not the other way around. And it's like, of course, they don't want us to know that, because if your mind starts to be obedient to your body has incredible wisdom for you, incredible answers for you, incredible everything for you. And if you start to get present to what's happening inside more than you are focusing out,
Yeah.
you're going to start making different decisions in your life. You're going to start being like, fuck that. I'm going to go there. I'm going to do this. I don't need to explain why. You're going to be that bitch. And that's
Yes.
what you're going to be the bitch that's like, I don't care that I'm 50. I'm wearing a mini skirt. I don't care that I'm 65. I'm going to fucking have a threesome. Like, and you know what? You're going to have fun while doing it, because that's alignment with your mind, body, and soul. When you are present, when you are aware, your awareness is present to what's happening in your body. You are vibrating at the highest vibration. That is why orgasm feels so good. When you are in that contradictory state, when you feel sensations in your body and you're like, this feels off, but I'm going to pretend like it doesn't, and I'm going to say
Yeah.
something that my mind wants me to say, that's incongruence. You are out of alignment. You are in chaotic vibration. And that's when you collapse time. That's when you like prevent the manifestation coming from you, because the universe is getting that output from you, that confusion, that chaotic vibration. This bitch is not present. This bitch doesn't really want pleasure. This bitch doesn't really want the man. This bitch like wants this to take over and do the
Yeah.
should versus what is true, right?
Yeah.
The presence is going to tell you what is true, what is real. When you are true, you become a match to the manifestation, to the desire.
Yeah. It's why I have in my notes, I wrote down presence equals turn on. You can use that word somewhat interchangeably in the sense that when you are in your body, when you are present to sensation, when you are present to what you're actually feeling in the truth of the moment, that is turn on, right? That is when sensation returns and when you become more magnetic and when it's easier to hold boundaries and it's much more clear what your actual desires are. And that's when intuition, which is basically listening to what your body is telling you, not this like confused, scared little liar up here, is actually tuning into that. And that's when pussy comes online again and becomes your compass again, if you're a pussy owner, of course, right? That's when she's like, aha, we're listening, we're in communication, we're in relationship. And I love that you brought that up because it is life force. If you walk away with one thing from this show, I want you to hear me that your job is not to heal your body or to regulate your body or to manage it or make it anything. Your job is to get in right relationship relationship with your body. It's to start listening and communicating back and forth, not just living from the neck up. But a
Yeah.
lot
And
of people, when
yeah.
they start to play with this, like they're really afraid of it. And I want to talk about that a little bit because there might be people that are watching this and are like, yeah, but that's scary. I don't want to feel all the feelings. I've got a lot of grief or rage or loneliness or disappointment or whatever it is, right? Because you've been shut off, numbed, disconnected, possibly for decades, like I was. And the truth is, like, for me, I can speak for me for sure, that was protection. And I think for most women, that's the truth, right? Like you
Yeah.
you protect yourself, and then when it comes back on, it can feel really scary. So what would you say to someone, Barbara, who's listening and is like, I don't know if I can feel out my feelings. What do I do?
When we say feelings, this is also a distinction that is so important, right? Because there's emotions like anger and grief, excitement. Those are like primary emotions. And there's secondary emotions like anxiety, which are coping mechanisms because you weren't allowed to feel the underneath emotions. So those are emotions. When we talk about feelings, we're talking about two different things. This is the distinction. There is emotions and then there's sensations. They are not one and the same. When I used to get angry, I used to be like fly off the handle. I used to be like, fuck you, motherfucker. Don't fucking disrespect, my New York, my Queens can't. I like, fuck, like, I'd be like that crazy fucking bitch. People would be scared of me because I'd be like, no way. Feelings only, if you allow them to move through the body, they last 90 seconds, a whole cycle. If you fully feel the experience and don't act on it. So I would do that thing where I would only feel maybe 20 seconds of it. And instead of actually being present to the next step, which is, oh, I'm angry. Now, where are the sensations in my body? And focus in instead, I would want to do whatever I can to get rid of the anger.
Yep.
And then I would misplace it because my mind's like, this is fucked up. And now my mind's running the show instead of my body being like, wait, look at me. When you have a high experience of feeling and emotion, it's your body calling you back. It's saying, hey, you really need to stop it's like stop, drop, and roll and come back inside and feel the sensation. Because when you can feel, there's the feeling that comes up and you're like, oh, wait, that's anger. Okay, great. Where is it happening in my body? And feeling the anger, that is, first of all, the most responsible and healthy thing you could actually do for yourself. You'll get
Yep.
clarity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're like, I know how to deal with this thing. Because
Yeah.
nothing ever good comes from you flipping out at someone because you're in reaction, right? I was in reaction. But when you actually work with the feeling experience, how we should be doing, what the
Yeah.
healthiest is, what actually helps us de-stress without needing anything outside of ourselves, that creates
Yeah.
responsiveness. That's when you get back into
Yeah.
turn on, right? And we have a lot of tools that we use because we've been so fucked up and we've been taught not to feel our feelings and be not cognizant of our sensations, that when you first
Yes.
start this, of course it's scary because you know why? You have years of anger and years of grief stored up in your body. So you're like, fuck, I'm going to let this out. But here's the thing, what we do in the Sensual Sisterhood is we have created space to help you relieve yourself of all of that. It is scary, but when you do it with
Yeah.
trained, certified people, like you
Yeah.
start to be
In a
like,
safe
oh my,
container where we hold you. Yeah.
we told you we're going to take you. And we've both been there, right? We've had to, of course.
Yeah.
It's scary because it's like, you think I'm 45 years old, 45 years of fucking shit that I've been
Yeah.
holding on to. I mean, not for me, I've been doing this work for like 17 years now. I've been releasing, releasing, releasing. And anytime you want to start, amazing. Because yeah, in the first few times, you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe so much is coming out. However, then you start to regulate and it becomes so easy because once you get that shit out, you're like, oh my God, none of it matters. Who
Yeah.
cares? Like you
It
start to,
feels different. And I want to
yeah,
add to what you were saying about the Sensual Sisterhood. So there's a free community. Any woman can join the free community. There's also the premium community where we practice every week, where we don't just talk about this work. In other words, it's not just theoretical, but we actually practice it together in sisterhood. So every single month, we have a single focus theme. This month we're kicking off is presence, actually, which is perfectly timed with this episode. So it's one doorway, one focal point, one invitation to go deeper. That theme shapes our weekly embodied practices. So we will be doing every Tuesday when we meet, we're doing work specifically about getting into our bodies, playing with presence, sitting with discomfort, paying attention to sensation, all these different things. So you're not just learning about it theoretically, you're doing it and you're being witnessed while you come back into your body in real time, which is where things really shift, right? When other women see you stay and you see other women also going through this experience, presence deepens. It deepens in sisterhood. That's why we created Premium. If you're interested in checking it out, the link is in the show notes.
And so I want to explain why it deepens in sisterhood. First of all, that's where the real healing is. We're almost holding counsel for you and your
Yeah.
experience. And why does it deepen in sisterhood? Let's go back to the baby analogy. When a baby is crying or in pain or needs something, mom gets real present. She's not like, oh, but wait, I got to get to do the laundry. I got to go run and call my boss back. I got to go write 18 emails. She's like, shit, the baby's crying. She gets real fucking present for the baby's needs. And
Mhm.
you finally are seen. What we do is we are more than anything embodied presence, witnessing you in your presence. That is where healing is. That is the spiritual. This is deep. I really want this to land because you are finally seen, met, heard, loved, and approved of and accepted exactly where you are. And that
Yeah.
signals to the body, I'm safe to be this way. And when you feel that, you just restored so many units of power. So
Yeah.
many units of power. Your body is seen in a way that it has never been seen before. And guess what that does? It now you have a new template of how to show up in the bedroom with your partner. What we do is it's twofold because you get the relief, you get the healing, you get the spiritual component of it, you get the turn on with us, but it's also a training of wait a second, now I'm starting to practice being present with myself. And I understand what it's like to be present with someone else through the sisterhood, through the
Yeah.
tools. So now I feel safer to be present in a sexual experience with my partner. And
Mhm.
so when a woman is she is fucking present, you don't have to do anything. I am talking no makeup. I don't give a fuck. It is so alluring. You know why? Because it's truth.
Got it. It's really intoxicating.
It's
Yeah.
so you know why? Because truth is highly sensational. Highly
Yes. It's
sensational.
erotic.
It's when
Yeah.
you in your truth, whatever it is, it can't
Yeah.
not help evoke presence from the other, the lover.
Yeah.
And so now
Yes.
here two presence meeting in one bodied union. Do you know that is sacred? That is what they didn't want us to do. That is why we have porn. That is why the system is completely fucked us. It has taken away from us knowing that experience. Two bodied union with two presence. It's not just erotic and hot and sexy and sensual and makes you feel like a goddess. It is the goddess in you meeting the god, goddess, royal, sovereign in the other. And that is where spirituality and sensuality and sexuality come together. And that is what creates sacred. And I can't, words again, cannot explain. This is all
No, I
experience.
can't.
Oh, if you are listening to me, because I feel this I am channeling, I feel this in my body right now. It is going to land in your
Yeah.
body. And if you are listening, really check in with your body right now. What she's saying actually resonating with me because you're going to feel
Yeah.
this. You're going to know, like, wait, this is available to me. And because then you know why? When you have that two bodied union of the two presents coming together and it is sacred and you have that orgasm, you're like, holy, this is a new level.
Yeah.
This
For
is a
real. Keith and I talk about leveling up all the time. You reach a new level.
new level.
But
It
it's
is
also it's not just, not to in any way downplay the fact that what you just described is everything, is huge. But also, in addition to that magic, not only does sex become honest and sacred and transcendent, but relationships start to reorganize. Your standards rise, your leadership strengthens, your creativity returns, right? You feel radiant instead of responsible. That's what happens when you come back to your body. That is what this whole fucking channel is about ultimately, right? This is not about becoming more peaceful or more enlightened or more love and light. It's about being more fucking alive. And I will say, I will caution you that when you start down this journey and you start to feel more alive, intensity can feel scary. Sometimes it can feel unsafe. Pleasure can feel like it's indulgent, like it's something you don't deserve, right? All of this requires some reorganizing of the operating system you've been living under. But I promise you, it's so fucking worth it. And the fact that it's so hidden from us and in fact actively denied to us by the culture insisting that we operate from the neck up and don't listen to this because this is dangerous. Enough of that. That's why this episode is here. So if you're listening to this, join us. Start practicing presence. Come into the Sensual Sisterhood. We will show you the way. We will guide you, coach you, cheer you on. The sisterhood will embrace you. It is so fucking worth it because your body never left, right?
Yeah.
Like you left, come on back.
And I just
Sorry,
want to
Barbara,
say,
you were gonna.
yeah, no, if it is scary for you, good. I'm going to say, congratulations. You're fucking alive. Fear and desire are two sides of the same coin. If there's fear, that means your body really wants it. And the fear is not because it's actually scary. The fear is your brain being like, oh shit, there's going to be change. So it's making you want to stay where you are. So it's like, fuck, don't do this. But the truth is, it's not really fear. It's just discomfort. And fear and discomfort are two different things, right? It's not the same thing. So when you understand following the fear is actually what's going to get you the manifestation faster. If you want change in your sex life, you're going to do the scary thing because the things you're afraid of are the things in here. It's not outside fear. It's not like a lion is going to come and attack you. You're afraid of the noise in here. But here's the trick. What's really happening is the noise in here is afraid of becoming obedient to the body.
Yeah.
Once you overcome that, again, you start to get units of power back because now this isn't running the show. Your embodied presences, your awarenesses, right? The question becomes, am I going to be submissive to fear or I'm going to dom the fucking fear and I'm going to handle my business, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So all of this is just another reminder that you get to come back to your body anytime you want. Stop Googling what happened to my libido at midlife or why don't I feel turned on anymore? Why do I feel numb? Why don't I want sex? Your body didn't leave you. Your libido didn't leave you. You left her and you can come back right now. You can start right now.
This is
And
so
if you're ready, join us at Sensual Sisterhood. We'd love to witness you coming home. And until then, we'll see you right here. We'll be back next week with another episode. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mwah.